The strange kidnappings of Jan Broberg by a master manipulator who pretended to be a family friend to get close to her has been explored in a new series. A friend of the family follows how charming church leader Robert B Berchtold, played by Jake Lacy, weaseled his way into the Broberg family, and the bizarre lies he spun to brainwash 12-year-old Jan into sleeping with him. One such horrific lie included convincing Jan that she and Berchtold were aliens who needed to have sex to continue their race. Incredibly, despite kidnapping Jan when she was 12 years old, in the 1970s, Berchtold was allowed to return to the Broberg family home, only to kidnap her for a second time 2 years later. The new series looks at how Jan's parents allowed their daughter's abductor back into their lives, and the peculiar relationship they had with Berchtold. It's easy to judge the Broberg family's story from the outside. Showrunner, executive producer, and writer Nick Antosca told Parade, "I hope people will come away from the series with a deeper understanding of the family and say, in that time, in that place, they were like me. They made terrible mistakes, but they loved their kids. And a master manipulator took advantage of them." Berchtold was a church leader in Idaho who grew close with the family, eventually leading to the Broberg children calling him B, and even Dad. The bonding was an effort on behalf of Berchtold to kidnap January. Berchtold manipulated Jan's parents, Mary Ann and Bob Broberg, to allow him to sleep in the same bed as her, as a form of therapy for him. He claimed had been abused as a child and this was the only thing that could help him. But over a period of 6 weeks, he used this opportunity to molest and groom the young girl, eventually drugging her and taking her to a camper van in the Mexican desert, 2,000 miles away from her home in Idaho, US. There, he forced Jan to marry him but was able to convince her that they were both aliens and needed to have sex to save the alien race. He brainwashed her into thinking if she did not do it, her sisters would have to, or the rest of her family would go blind or die, leading Jan to comply. 35 days after she was last seen, Berchtold called his brother Joe to tell him that he and Jan had been married in Mexico, where the legal age was 12, and Joe immediately relayed this information to police. The Brobergs eventually located Jan in Mexico, as Berchtold needed their consent to the marriage in order to re-enter the United States. They refused, and Berchtold returned to the United States with Jan, where he was charged with kidnapping. Shockingly, after Jan returned, the twisted pedophile kidnapped her for a second time after her parents, who he threatened and manipulated, forgave him, and welcomed him back with open arms. In fear of what might happen to Berchtold if people found out, Jan kept silent about the abuse. Jan and Berchtold wrote letters and spoke over the phone, eventually leading up to them having sex several times. It was not just Jan that was the focus of Berchtold's twisted affection. He also persuaded Bob to masturbate in front of him and began a sordid affair with Jan's mother Mary Ann. Berchtold was able to use those sordid details to blackmail the family to pursue less jail time for him. He only served 10 days for the kidnapping. By 1976, Berchtold kidnapped Jan again, under the cover story that she ran away. He enrolled her in school in California until he was caught and arrested again. Berchtold was court-ordered to a mental facility and stayed there for 6 months before he was released, also serving little over a month of jail time for all his crimes. The family filed for a stalking injunction in 2004 as Berchtold continued to follow them. Attempting to get into contact with Jan, he was arrested for not sticking to the terms in 2005, and also charged with keeping an illegal gun. Facing more jail time, he killed himself. Meanwhile, Jan was not able to open up about her abuse for another 2 years after she was returned home. She also believed aliens were real until she was about 16, when she came to the truth. Jan has since written a book, and gone on a speaking tour about her story. The series debuts on Peacock tonight.